Hello and welcome to my channel. Also welcome to Cirrus's Twitch stream, which is, you're in the middle now, right? So welcoming them to that would be weird.
It would be weird. Hold on. Yeah, no, I can't unweird it. Sorry, it's just gonna have to be weird.
I mean, you could just say what you said to me in the back room a second ago.
I could do that. I could Weist. I need to hear you swallow.
I'm just going to I'm going to leave that without context so you guys can guess why he said that to me while the countdown was going. And yeah, I will not be clarifying it. It was hello. We're here raising money for charity. Yeah, so I saw there's something going on in the main chat where people are. Oh yeah. Blade Runner is asking, is the watering hole defunct now since you're streaming on your main channel? No, I'm streaming on my main channel because it's for charity and the audience is bigger here generally. I will be going back to the watering hole starting December. I probably should edit a video and upload it there at some point. But yeah, I've been kind of neglecting it in favor of the charity. As you can see by looking at our little tracker thing down there, we hit the $10,000 goal. I'm a little mad that that happened on Paul's stream and not mine. Not gonna lie, but we hit it. That's the important thing, is that we hit the goal.
Success.
So now my goal is 15,000. Also, thank you to let me just quickly check. There was someone who noticed that we were having problems with this website automatically scrolling through the list of people, and it was just kind of awkward and weird. And Travis. So thank you, Travis. Travis emailed me some helpful custom CSS code, as well as a recommendation for a custom CSS browser extension that stops the scroll. And also let me bump things around to make it easier to screen grab like that. So,
Well,
thank you, Travis.
thank God for mods.
Samuel Patre says, Cirrus, you look cute. And Creamy the
thank you.
Axolotl says, do you have doubloons? I don't know. Is that a reference to something?
Okay, so long story short, on TikTok, there was a viral.
No, you know what? Why do I ask you if there's a story behind anything? It's always the same. It's always something went viral on TikTok and it's a stupid thing that happens on my channel now.
Yep.
Every time.
That's exactly what happens.
See, now, here's the fun thing, though. When I highlighted that comment originally, I misread that as balloons, and I thought that might have been a reference to my little balloon experiment in my most recent Matt Powell video. So I was like, oh, they're commenting about the video that they said. But no, it's a thing for you. So you go ahead and explain that, Cirrus. You go ahead and fucking explain that. No. Cirrus will explain that if we get to 11,000. If we get to 11,100, Cirrus will explain that. There we go. Hydrogen go boom. There we go. That is a reference to my video. It didn't go boom so much as pop. And it was just like a cute little boop. And then the room stunk for ages because I burned a balloon.
The smell of burned plastic and rubber.
For some reason, I didn't consider that when I lit it on fire to begin with, but I opened the window, put a fan in it.
You've done it. You've ruined everything, and now we're here.
Yep. So yeah, so everybody go to vicerhino.com/donate. We need about $36-ish before Cirrus will explain doubloons.
Because apparently that's what my thing is now. I get to explain Zoomer memes, even though I'm still a millennial.
Yeah, so you know that trend that happened on TikTok a little while ago where people were getting their 13-year-old kid and telling them a bunch of saying a bunch of phrases from the 90s, be kind, rewind, what do you think that means, and just laughing at their answers. Lily and I
meant you got shit from Blockbuster Video and now I hurt.
Yeah, that was another one. It was what is Blockbuster? And then they were I don't know, it's that game where you shoot the blocks with the little ball and they burst. Yeah, it's stuff like that. It's hilarious. Now I did that with my daughter. She did know what VHS was because the week before that I had taken apart an old VCR that I had acquired and then put in a VHS tape so they could see the mechanisms of it, unwinding the tape and how it spools across everything, and just appreciate how neat that was, even though the image quality was shit.
I've seen there's a picture that floated around for a while, back when people were trying to do the very beginning of the like show your age memes, and it was like, hey, what's the relation between these two things? And it was a cassette tape and a pencil.
Yes. Yep. I know the relationship between those two things.
You stick one in the other, and baby music comes out.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was explaining. Yeah. So what Lily and I have decided we're going to do. She's going to write down a bunch of slang that she uses with her friends, and then we're going to turn the tables, and she's going to see how much of that I know.
And then you'll incorporate it all into your channel in an effort to ride SEO.
Maybe, but yeah, no. There was well, there was a TikTok that was like Zoomer court thing. It was like a whole court scene, but like they're all using Zoomer language, and like one attorney objects, and the judge is like, "Take several seats, Mr. Simpson. You'll have your turn to clap back."
Jeez.
And it just keeps going like that. And at one point, when the guy on the stand is being accused of lying, he just like turns. That's cap, Your Honor. That's just cap. And I'm like, I don't know what the fuck does cap mean. And my daughter just
it's psych.
Yeah, well, my daughter just turned to me and was like, "You don't know cap."
Yeah,
no.
it's like it's literally just psych, but again. So, speaking of that, I haven't heard anybody say psych in media in a decade, and I hate that.
That's because that's a '90s thing.
I hate feeling old. Stop making me feel old.
Well, stop being old.
I physically can't do that. Despite what people like Ken Hovind believe about ages and dating, these things are fairly fixed in stone.
Why'd you have to bring Ken Hovind into it? He's just gross.
Just take a drink of water.
He's just a gross.
He's
a gross man. I used to have fun making fun of his voice, but now, like, since Paul's thing came out, exposing just how gross he is, it's like we all kind of knew, but like, I actually didn't know the like kids going missing and harboring credibly accused child abusers and stuff. Like, I didn't know about that before Paul's video. Now it's just like, he's not fun anymore. Now he's just gross. He used to be fun.
He back when we would do things like roast him on Non Sequitur show and stuff like that, it made he was the punching bag, and now it's like how many comics, how big into comics were you?
I've never been big into comics.
Okay. Anybody who has been big into comics, then, because this typically happens, your audience tends to know things you don't. Y'all remember Dr. Light in DC Comics? How he was just the butt of jokes for the longest time for the Teen Titans, and then you found out he was a serial rapist. That's Kent. That's exactly what that was. Is 110%. He went from let's include this character because it's fun to bash them to we don't talk about that guy.
Is his name Bruno?
I might hate you.
Hey, I'm getting old now, so my meme's got to be a few weeks out of date. It's a few months out of date in that case. Anyway, Raymond and Samuel both donated, so we are now over 11,100. So now you have to explain what the fuck that thing was earlier. Doubloons.
Okay, so this month, an imaginary TikTok currency was created, and it's spreading into everything else because an offer was made by a cat video. Basically, it said "Hello, traveler," and then offers the viewer a trade to give you a certain number of doubloons. The number is arbitrary. It's usually 2 or 4 or something like that, and it's supposed to mean like cat toes, like toe beans. That's what the doubloons is supposed to mean. But then, as these things do, it evolved into meaning actual literal currency, and now there are people who are like, do you have doubloons, and they are stockpiling based on however many videos they watch that have
doubloons.
yes, any videos that somebody watches that has a certain number of doubloons gifted to the viewer, there are some people that are literally cataloging how many doubloons they've earned through videos.
Oh God!
This entirely imaginary currency, and there are like this is a thing that is still in the process of being viralized. So the rules are very, very made up and changing every couple of days. But that's where things are currently. That's where things are currently. It's the game again.
I have 20 doubloons right here.
Everybody, Vice lost the game.
I don't know what you're talking about, so we're
God
good.
fucking
we're
damn
good.
It, that one's closer to your age range.
We're good. If we get to 11,200, Cirrus will tell me about that.
How is that one? How? Of all of the one, everybody in my chat is angry at me now because I made them lose the game, and somehow, in all of this, you nothing, not a thing.
Yeah, that's okay. Does that mean I win?
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does. I win. I've decided that I win because the rules are arbitrary and change anyway. So.
No, the rules for that one
Nope.
haven't changed.
Nope, I win.
They were established literally 10 years ago. It's a 4chan meme.
Yeah, so in meme times, that means that the original is dead. Long live the new version. I win.
Then your new one needs to go viral.
Can't go viral. I'm the winner. That's just it. It's over now because I won.
Jesus. Have you seen the new H Bomber Guy video on the oof sound?
I have not. Do I want to see it? Because I know the oof sound. Okay,
so for one, you really should. It's an amazing video. Secondly, you just 100% reminded me of the guy who's actually the subject of the majority of that video, who holds a bunch of Guinness World Records because he arbitrarily set the rules for each of them to be so strict that only he could achieve them, and then he made sure that there was a special committee that needed to be present to administer any of the rewards, so nobody can get those even if they surpass his records. Only he can hold them.
I mean, could he maybe get in the Guinness Book of World Records for having the record for most convoluted record setting?
No, actually, he couldn't, because turns out he was never in the Guinness Book of World Records.
Oh, okay.
Despite holding 7 of them. I mean, 3 of them. The story changes all the time.
Okay, so the Lucky Spade sent a €10 super chat, said website needs US Canada, so have a super chat instead. Super chats don't go directly to the thing. YouTube does take a cut from that. I understand, though, if you're not in North America, for some reason this website doesn't take it. I emailed my contact at the charity about that because this is the website that they prefer to use, and they said they'd look into it, and nothing's changed since then. So I just imagine this is one of those huge back end things that they have no control over, and somebody else will like just chuck their email in the bin or whatever and ignore it. So yeah, I will send any super chats onto the charity. I currently owe them $130 for my last 2 streams. I will just add whatever we get tonight from super chats to that. However, if you are in North America, I'd prefer that you don't do that because I am covering YouTube's 30%, and I'd rather not have to do that, all else being equal. But yeah, next year I'll set it up through Canada Helps again because I know they can take international donations. So we'll just I'm sure they'll be fine with that. Money's money, right? For charity. Anyway, shall we get on to this video?
You know what? We might as well, all things considered.
Yeah, so this is a video on a channel called Pursue God Videos, which they have 47,000 subscribers, and this video has 631 views. So
you know what? You know what that sounds like to me?
That sounds
Instantly.
that sounds like either someone purchased subscribers or this is a YouTube channel that's run by a fairly big church of people that are like, yeah, sure, I'll go click the subscribe button, but then they never watch.
No, I don't think it's either of those.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not the big church. When we see the video, the production value just isn't there for a big church.
No, so this one I think I actually can speak for because of previous employment I've had. Um, so I used to be employed as a voice actor is not a really good word for it, but voiceover person is probably the best one you can give
A VOP.
for a shitty top 10 channel. I don't want to say the name of it because issues. I can say it in DMs later, but basically, this channel was ran by a guy who ran several of these channels, and what they would do is they would find channels that had been abandoned by their previous content creators or that were currently owned by content creators who were perfectly fine just making a lot of money. I know this because I was given an offer at one point years after employment. But basically, what they do is they'll take a channel that is already monetized, that already has a lot of people subscribed to it, and they'll buy it, delete all the content from the channel, and then start uploading their own stuff to it. So the YouTube algorithm won't push that stuff because it's completely opposite of whatever the channel originally had.
Yeah.
And that, what's up?
No, I'm just making noises to confirm that I'm still listening.
Gotcha. Fair enough. And aside from being employed at one point by a guy who would purchase these channels and then pay people a very, very low wage for the purpose of having them basically voice over bottom of the bar top 10 content, think Mashed and Watch Mojo, but even more generic.
How do you get more generic than Watch Mojo?
When my channel got stolen, somebody did purchase it for these purposes. If people remember when that saga happened, somebody renamed the channel to Surrey Gaming or something like that. That's typically what happens when somebody steals a channel and then sells it to one of these people for the purpose of moving it into that deletion of all your videos, uploading of the new generic content process. And typically it happens to videos in the 20 to 60,000 range because they're big enough to be monetized and have audiences, but not big enough to be on most people's radar if something terrible goes wrong. But the buyer doesn't care. The buyer just cares that the channel has the numbers. If it was stolen unscrupulously, they don't generally ask questions about that. So that would be my guess for this channel because of past experiences.
So we're going to do a... Dallas Wade wants to do a top 10 Watch Mojo top 10 videos.
And then you need to do a top 10 Watch Mojo videos.
Well, no, we need to do 10 of the top 10 Watch Mojo top 10 videos.
How deep can we make that rabbit hole go?
Well, Chuck Tingle makes a whole living off of what he does. So, like, how many times can you be pounded in the butt by the concept of pounding yourself in the butt by the book Pounded Myself in the Butt with the... like...
Jeez. All right. Well, with all that terrible preamble out of the way...
With all that preamble out of the way, donate money, and we'll watch some videos about slavery. So yeah, this is asking, does the Bible condone slavery?
Spoiler alert.
I've noticed a number of critics of Christianity have been attacking the Bible lately on the grounds that the Bible condones slavery.
Why is Discount Mike Winger here?
Okay, Discount Mike. So I normally don't comment on people's appearances, but this guy, like, I feel like this is very ironic for a video that is talking about whether or not the Bible condones slavery, but this guy looks like he has been pressed into indentured service for the sake of this video. Like, he looks terrified the whole time. Like, somebody's just off camera pointing a gun at him and like, read the lines or else.
Jeez.
That's right. Chuck Tingle, Hugo Award nominated author. That's a fun story. Are you familiar with that one?
No, I'm not. I know who Chuck Tingle is and the stuff he writes, but I don't know this story.
Oh, I forget the details. I'm going to get some of the stuff wrong, but the Hugo Award nomination kind of came around through, like, there was like a troll group that was like very much anti-LGBTQ, and they were complaining that the Hugo Awards were being too woke or whatever. And so because the Hugo Awards are done by vote, they got a group together and all voted for Chuck Tingle to be nominated for the Hugo Award, just as a joke, to like kind of troll them or whatever and own the libs. Chuck Tingle then turned that around and turned it into like very much pro LGBTQ stuff for him to do. So he ended up trolling the trolls with his new books and everything. It was fantastic.
Jeez.
It was pretty good. Yeah. Anyway, so apparently this guy's name is Ross Anderson. That means nothing to me, but he looks terrified.
And yes, you know what? The Old Testament law did allow for a certain form of slavery.
Okay, end of story.
A certain form of slavery. That's a weaselly way of saying it.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter because the word slavery means something.
Yeah.
And if you want it to not be slavery, then don't
word.
call it slavery. There's a reason that word gets used in the context of the Old Testament. It's because that's what it was.
It wasn't real slavery. It was slavery, but it was colored blue.
Yeah, no, it's so. Yeah, okay, I don't know. This guy's saying double monders for the win. Yes, I used. So I've got the big brain set up right now. So I've got double monders. They're both identical 32-inch ViewSonic monitors. One is horizontal, one is vertical. And I have this other little program called Display Fusion, which lets you segment it up into even more virtual monitors. So right now, my computer thinks that I have 1, 2, 3, 4. It thinks I have 4 monitors. And I can change the layouts with keyboard shortcuts, which I tie into my Stream Deck. So there are times when I have like 5 or 6 monitors, like virtual monitors going, so like I'll rearrange stuff depending on what I'm doing, and it's absolutely fantastic. That's the big brain way to do this stuff. Anyway,
I just have 3 monitors on a standing desk.
Yeah, I like my standing desk, which I'm sitting at right now. Yeah, anyway, so yeah, basically like the word slavery means a thing. So if you don't want if you don't want to say the Bible condones slavery, then the Bible shouldn't say, okay, here's how you do the slavery. But it does. So therefore it does.
And yes, the New Testament writers never did speak directly against slavery in the Roman Empire.
Not only did they not speak directly against it, they actually had admonitions in there for slaves to obey their masters.
That's from Paul.
Yeah.
Even to the point where when slaves would abandon their masters and try to seek freedom, he'd go, no. Go back to your slave master. He's your brother in Christ.
That was Onesimus, whatever. Onesimus.
Onesimus?
I know that's not how you say it, but I'm screwing everything else up. Might as well. My God, I just finished recording a video where I talk about a bunch of Maori, see, now I'm saying that wrong. Maori is how you say that. Maori is how I read it, but it's pronounced Maori. But I go into a bunch of Maori flood myths, and there are just so many names that I can't pronounce, and Google was not helpful at all.
I'd imagine.
And then there was also there's a fossil bed in Nebraska that, depending on who you ask, it's either the agate fossil beds, the agate fossil beds, the agate fossil beds, the aga fossil beds with a silent T somehow. And there were like a couple other pronunciations in there too. And like I looked it up and everybody says it differently. And I'm just like, what the fuck do I do with this? Like, because anytime I say something wrong, everybody's like, you could just Google that, right? I'm like, I did.
I did my best, and it wasn't enough for you people.
Elizabeth Christensen, thank you for the $100 for the fundraiser. So now we're at 11,200. I'd like to get to 15,000. That'd be nice. That's probably not going to happen tonight, but I'm hoping by the end we can get to 15K. So remember, that's vicerhino.com/donate. And back to the slavery video.
So let's evaluate that claim and see how valid it is. Does the Bible condone slavery? Now let's start by looking at slavery in the Old Testament. You need to understand that the Old Testament system of slavery was very different from the practices of Europe and America in the 19th century. And
Who the fuck cares?
It doesn't matter.
Who the fuck
None
cares?
of that matters.
We didn't ask, does the Bible condone 19th century American slavery or European slavery? We asked, does the Bible condone slavery?
And if the question is just, does it condone slavery? Well, it was slavery, but we don't need the but. The but is not required. This is not an argument for a but. This is just a yes or no, very simply.
Yeah, it'd be like if if I go up to my kids and I say, "Hey, did you steal your brother's candy?" And they answer with, well, Jean Valjean stole bread to feed his family. Was that really stealing? It's like that's
yes,
not the
was.
question. I'm not. Yeah, I know. I'm trying to think of an example, and I'm not good at that on the fly. I usually pause and think about that for a few minutes, but that wouldn't make for a very good stream.
It's just very like, did you steal candy? Well, I mean, technically yes, but he stole from me for. That's not what I asked. Now I know that there are two culprits. Thank you for the information.
No, yeah, it was like, no, we didn't ask, does the Bible have the exact same slavery institutions that they had in the antebellum South? We asked, does the Bible support? But also, a lot of the laws for slavery in the antebellum South were based on the Bible.
And the arguments for keeping slavery in the South
were based on the Bible.
also based on the Bible.
Yeah, I have videos where I actually go into, I think it's the Louisiana Law Code is the one that I go into, where it's like, it's almost word for word right out of the Bible, and there's stuff like all the exact same stuff, like how much you're allowed to beat your slaves, and like a master that beats a slave too much, that's when a judge can come and like force that master to sell the slave, or even set
your
the slave
slave lose
free.
an eye, very specifically? No? Then it's okay.
Before, and the slave practices that we're used to as students of American history. Because first of all, the Old Testament law allowed a voluntary provision for people to enter this relationship on a voluntary basis to support people who had become destitute. It was like the Old Testament form of bankruptcy.
So slavery equals bankruptcy. So if it was the Old Testament form of bankruptcy, why wouldn't they just use the word bankruptcy when they translated it?
Not to mention, he's ignoring the fact that these are the rules that applied to the Israelites. These are not the rules that applied to peoples of other nations, which, by the way, makes it a little more analogous to the antebellum South than he wants it to be, if you look at the entire picture, because the rules for slavery for Israelites was, you make them work for, what was it, like 7 years? And then they can pay off their destituteness that way, and then they're free to go off after they've worked off their debt. But those were not the rules for, like, if you brought in Canaanites or anything like that. Those were not the rules for them. They had a different set of rules for those people that was a lot closer to types of slavery you wouldn't like, as evidenced by the fact that the Israelites themselves had to deal with that kind of slavery in Egypt.
Leviticus 25:44 through 46. Your male and female slaves are to come from the nations around you. From them you may buy slaves. You may also buy some of the temporary residents living among you and members of their clans born in your country, and they will become your property. You can bequeath them to your children as inherited property and can make them slaves for life, but you must not rule over your fellow Israelites ruthlessly.
Almost as if this is much closer to the type of slavery he's trying to distance it from.
And I'm not sure why the highlighting on this page is all messed up. Clearly I've been here before and I had a reason for doing that for a video, but
you've visited websites with Bible verses on them before?
I go to BibleGateway.com all the damn time. Joey Hoke gave $51.01, which I kind of expect. Oh yeah, okay, that rounded up to the. That got rid of the pennies on the end of the amount, but we're still at a weird dollar amount. So I know in previous years we've had people that would like give $4 just to get it to an even like 5 or 0 at the end, and then other people would donate to mess it up. So Joey Hoke says, for an outstanding cause, thanks for the fantastic content you put out on a regular basis. Thank you, Joey. I appreciate it. Project Share appreciates it. if you're not familiar with Project Share, they're basically a food bank, but they do a bunch of other stuff too. And they're desperately needed nowadays. This is why English needs umlauts and accents on letters. Would that be a reference to agot or agate or agat or aga or whatever the fuck it was? I got frustrated with that, and so I just like put it in the video. I pronounced it like 5 different ways, and like one of those is right, maybe.
And so debts were paid off by becoming a servant to somebody who had the means to bring you into their household. And so usually the person initiated this, him or herself.
Yeah, okay, but let's even just looking at that. What's the verse on that? Exodus 21. Exodus 21. Now let's go NIV, because NIV doesn't beat around the bush with the word slave like ESV does.
You don't like flowery language Bible?
No, NIV did beat around the bush on that one. Maybe no, ESV usually avoids the word slave, whereas NIV will use it, but for this passage, it's the other way around. So, now these are the rules that you shall set before them. When you buy a Hebrew slave, he shall serve 6 years, and in the 7th he shall go free for nothing. If he comes in single, he shall go out single. If he comes in married, then his wife shall go out with him. If his master gives him a wife and she bears him sons or daughters, the wife and her children shall be her master's, and he shall go out alone. Does that sound like temporary slavery just for paying off debts if you're born into it?
Because if you can be passed down to somebody after a generation, then that means we've got at least 15 or 20-ish years of the slavery on its own. And if that rule applies for every single generation, then you're going to be passed down until the moment you die. That's just how that's going to be. Yep.
And then and this is literally like holding his family hostage in order to force him into becoming a permanent slave. So if the slave plainly says, I love my master, my wife, and my children, I will not go out free, then his master shall bring him to God, and he shall bring him to the door of the doorpost. His master shall bore his ear through with an awl, and he shall be his slave forever.
That's a very specific word.
Yes.
I wonder if that's a word that undermines his whole argument.
Yeah, well, okay, so this is one of my favorite examples of Christians cherry-picking the Bible was when Alan Parr talked about slavery, and he actually put this verse up on screen, and he made it sound like the conditions of slavery were so good that sometimes the slaves decided they wanted to stay slaves. And he read verse 2 where he read verse 2 where he said he shall serve 6 years and in the 7th he shall go out free, and then there was an ellipses, and then it went to I love my master, ellipses again, I will not go out free, and then the thing about the door. No. So he cut out all the references to the wife and children being held hostage.
Yeah, every time I've covered Alan Parr, it strikes me just how willfully dishonest the guy is.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention the some slaves decided to stay with their master. That's not exclusively a biblical apologetic for slavery. That is an apologetic that's been used for slavery here in America before, when people are like, yeah, some slave masters were so good that slaves would stay with their master even if they had the option to go free. And that's an interesting perspective, and it undermines none of my arguments, but I could be pedantic and pick that one apart too.
Yeah. And then of course, after the word forever, very next verse, when a man sells his daughter as a slave, she shall not go out as the male slaves do. So, Hebrew men get the nice version of slavery.
Mm-hmm.
And nice is in quotes here, because
that's because slavery, women were already considered property in that.
Yeah, basically.
In that area anyway. So, you were basically just selling a tool at that point.
Mm-hmm. Eric Storch says that's like saying Stockholm Syndrome can justify some kidnapping. Yeah.
But it can. Just tell all 15 people in my basement.
Oh, So my daughter jokes about having children locked up in the basement. And now her latest thing is that, like, we should actually, like, send some kid, like, invite them over to play and send them downstairs where all the toys are and just, like, lock the door for a second so she can, like, text her friend right then and there and be like, I actually have kids locked in my basement right now. Because she's a morbid little shit.
I'm just reminded of the Ronald McDonald Meat Canyon video now.
Ronald McDonald Meat Candy.
No, Meat Canyon.
Oh, Meat Canyon. I still don't. Is that another reference I'm going to regret asking about?
It's a YouTube channel called Meat Canyon.
Okay.
It's basically just a video where Ronald McDonald tries to get someone to eat a Big Mac. They won't eat it, and then he drugs them and takes them back to his house and locks them in his basement until they learn better and eat the Big Mac. I mean, I've described that video in the most boring way possible, but it's actually very, very funny.
I'd rather be locked in a basement than eat a Big Mac, not going to lie. I'll take my chances with Buffalo Bill.
Change that.
And so nobody was kidnapped or nobody was forcibly induced into slavery.
Really?
Except all the people that were.
Do you remember where that is?
I believe it was
Deuteronomy 20.
I mean, we literally just went over a verse where it said that you can grab your slaves from other places.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but that was buying them. So that's buying people that have already been kidnapped. You're not the one doing the kidnapping. But
okay,
here we get, when you draw near to a city to fight against it, offer terms of peace, and if it responds to you peaceably and opens up to you, then all the people who are found in it shall do forced labor for you and shall serve you. So
that sounds like kidnapping.
Well, okay. It could be said they volunteered to do that. Like, sure, yeah, they volunteered at sword point, but they still volunteered for it. But if it makes no peace with you but makes war against you, then you shall besiege it. And when the Lord your God gives it into your hand, you shall put all its males to the sword, but the women and the little ones, the livestock and everything else in the city, all its spoil, you shall take as plunder for yourselves. Does taking women and children as plunder sound like kidnapping to you?
It sounds like mass forced divorce.
Mass forced divorce.
Yes. Many of those women were likely married.
Yeah.
Not now. The Bible supports divorce on a massive scale.
Yeah. And you shall enjoy the spoil of your enemy, which the Lord your God has given you.
I never want to think about enjoying children. Please
don't. No.
That makes that phrase, that verse, infinitely worse.
Mm-hmm.
Don't put those words anywhere near proximity to one another.
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, it's also mentioning livestock, too. So,
I am way too close to Alabama to think about enjoying livestock. And now I'm coughing. Damn it.
I'm Scottish. Them sheep are yummy.
You have a sheepish grin, sir.
Is that where the word sheepish came from with that context, maybe?
I don't know. I don't know the etymology behind it, actually.
Like, the sheepish grin is the grin that you give when someone finds out that you were having some fun with the sheep, and you're like, no.
No.
Oh, God.
Not me, but someone who looks a lot like
someone
me,
needs to donate money to charity to offset our joking about sheep fucking. Don't make me... You know what? Paul passed the...
That encourages them
to
get more sheep bucking.
Paul passed the goal of $10,000 because me and Jimmy were talking about horse cum. So if you don't want me and Cyrus to start talking about horse cum, you better start donating to charity.
Oh, so you're saying we can go read Ezekiel right now?
Oh, yes, we can. That's another one that I know off. Ezekiel 23:20.
Fun fact. So one of my friends who's a decently conservative Christian, I actually quoted the Bible verse, this one from Ezekiel, to him. And his initial response was, "You made that up." That one's made up.
and lusted after her lovers there, whose members were like those of donkeys, and whose issue was like that of horses. That's horse cum in the Bible.
Yep.
Oh, lordy, lordy.
Wham, bam, thank you, lamb.
That's perfect. That's amazing.
Oh my god.
And Slackback says, so much info here. This will certainly liven up the conversation during the holidays with my conservative family. I might end up eating a Big Mac instead of the turkey tomorrow. I'm assuming that the stuff you're going to bring up at the family dinner is stuff because of the stream delay. You're still talking about like the slavery thing and not the horse cum thing. But that could be fun at a family dinner too.
Oh my god. Oh, fun thing to try with your religious conservative family. Start a new tradition, right? This is a long con thing. Start a new tradition where a member of the family gets to pick their favorite Bible verse and say it at the table with everybody around Thanksgiving. And of course, they're going to suggest that, oh my God, that's amazing. Do you want to do the first one? If they don't want you to do the first one, that's what makes it a long con. You do this some years down the road, but make sure that you are giving like the Genesis story of daughters having their way with their drunk dad, or the bits from Ezekiel. You could even take some fun acid trips from Revelation. There's a whole bunch of stuff you could bring to the party.
I don't understand. Like, I'm surprised at how many people like actually talk about like Jesus having the sword in his mouth. Like, picture that. How do you?
He had a flaming sword in his mouth. So he had a hot cock in hand. Got it.
Yeah, but like it takes an acid trip to make that sound like it actually sounds cool or intimidating or anything. It's like, could you imagine actually going into battle with your sword in your mouth?
I can, because I've seen One Piece.
That's another thing I don't know.
There's a character in One Piece that fights, and he
has
One Piece?
Is One Piece a type of bathing suit?
It's a very old anime.
It's a bathing suit.
Oh my god.
Slackback is going to do your long con.
Good. Do it. Ruin your family for the lulz.
Vice never saw One Piece. I've seen lots of One Pieces because I've been to the beach.
Yes, Alpha Mario, I'm talking about Zolo. I'm glad at least somebody else here got my reference.
Back to the video.
And in the Old Testament law, it was also a temporary provision.
For the men. And
not for the women and not for the foreigners.
Well, okay, this is a biblical contradiction because I think it's Deuteronomy, or maybe it's earlier in Leviticus. No, I'm pretty sure it's Deuteronomy. One of them actually specifies Hebrew men and women both go free in the 7th year. But then the other one says that the women do not go free. So, direct contradiction. Also, Leviticus and Deuteronomy disagree about the year of Jubilee. In one of them, it's every 50th year, and in the other, it's every 7th. And now everybody...
Are you telling me that the perfect Bible has contradictions?
Yes. Fur Guy, the foot fetishist from 4chan.
Oh my god, that is a name.
Says, Happy Thanksgiving, Viced. It is not Thanksgiving because I live in Canada. I will take your money and send it to the charity. But yeah, the real Thanksgiving is celebrated in October.
Oh, okay.
Is
that like how there's a difference in real football depending on where you live?
No, we do Thanksgiving exactly the same as the Americans do. We just do it at a time that makes sense. Because like
November makes sense.
No, it doesn't. Because you have Thanksgiving, and then like 2 weeks later it's Christmas dinner.
Yeah, more food.
Yeah, fine, but like there needs to be a gap between that, so you need some time to digest.
Yeah, that's where Halloween goes.
Yes. Halloween doesn't go in that gap for you because Halloween happened before Thanksgiving. We get Halloween in that gap because ours makes sense.
It's okay to be inferior, Vice Rhino. We have the better medical system, don't you know? That's why it's so expensive.
Oh, okay. So I used to like get tied up in those arguments about like Like, if they didn't, people are giving to the super chat again. Please don't do super chat unless you live somewhere other than North America, because go to vicerhino.com/donate, because then that way all of your donation goes to the charity without me having to cover 30% of it. I mean, this way I get a bigger tax receipt, so it still kind of works, but
Either way.
Anyway, what was I saying? I forget. Someone rewind the stream and tell me.
You were saying...
Oh, yeah, medical system.
You used to got in these arguments, yeah.
Yeah, so people would talk about how, like, oh, well, the reason American medical system is more expensive is because we do all the research and development that all the other systems benefit from. And but that doesn't really follow, because the thing is, in the States, all the research, like most of the important research that is done, medically speaking, is done, that is, like, it's publicly funded. It's done in universities. And so, like, it's not done in hospital, but like by like private labs or anything. The pharmaceutical companies don't get their private labs in it until the public funding has found something that looks like it might be promising.
They're basically trying to do this whole, like, it was here magically on our soil. That doesn't matter.
Yeah.
None of that matters. Geography doesn't matter.
Okay, so Jassa says you can set up a charity stream. YouTube takes nothing. Yes, but only if your charity is registered with YouTube, which the one that I'm supporting is not, because they're just a little rinky-dink local thing. And so I can't do that with them. Trust me, I looked. I am aware of that. That would make things so much easier. But alas. Actually, that way I could actually have like the charity thing going underneath all of my videos that go live this month.
True. I sometimes forget that those features are there.
Yeah, no, those are good features to have, but it's not so helpful when your charity isn't listed.
Ryujin in my chat says, if Vice Rhino misses this, Titan Uranus says hi.
No, it's Titan Uranus.
No.
You know what's funny about that? Like the Uranus versus Uranus thing?
Yeah.
Is both of those pronunciations are incorrect if we're going with the actual mythology, because it's Uranus. But like,
why does that sound so wrong?
Because we're used to Uranus and Uranus. But like they had to go with the butt one or the P one. They couldn't go with the one that's the actual pronunciation. I don't know why. Like, just go with what it's actually called.
Thanks, I hate it.
Yeah. You're welcome. Anyway,
just play the video.
Something about slavery.
See, once the debts were paid, then the person was set free.
Assuming the master wasn't holding the wife and children hostage.
Yep.
And also, all debts were paid, and all slaves, therefore, were set free once every 7 years.
Or 50 if you're in the other book. So, like...
Or never if you're in the foreign book.
Yeah. If you had the bad luck of being a Canaanite.
Man, they got the short end of the stick so often in the Bible.
Well, that's because the ancient Hebrews, like, their culture evolved from Canaanite culture, so they had to find ways to distinguish themselves from the other Canaanites. So fuck those guys. We're clearly very different from them. See, look, we came from Egypt. But not like from Egypt as in like they're from Egypt. They migrated to Egypt from Canaan. That I guess Abraham and Isaac and Jacob and all them, they were like living as foreigners in Canaan, if I remember right. It's
been a long time.
I just read the whole book of Genesis to my daughter over the course of like a year, so I should remember this shit. Oh, we're getting dad jokes going on. What's brown and sticky? A stick.
You want to hear a dirty horse joke?
Sure.
A horse jumped in the mud.
Titan Uranus says, thank you, ist the name. Titan Uranus. You know what? Fuck convention. I'm going to start pronouncing Uranus as agat.
I'm going to start pronouncing Uranus as agape.
Yeah, there we go. Or just a gate. It is a gate to a wonderful world.
It's a gate to the prostate. It even rhymed.
There we go. We'll figure this out eventually. No, if we'd have done this off air, we could have like pretended like we came up with these on the fly and like had that all go out very smoothly and impress people. But like,
that's what the
also in the Old
editing is
Testament
for.
system, these servants or slaves had numerous rights and they were protected by the laws.
Just like they were in Louisiana. You're not allowed to murder your slaves in Louisiana. If you're too cruel, the Louisiana judges will take your slave away. This is another problem that they have with this, is that they when comparing ancient Hebrew slavery to American slavery, they compare the actual thing that happened in American slavery with the legal code of ancient Hebrew slavery. It's like, do you think the actual thing that happened always matched up with the legal code? Like, do you think maybe these judges were maybe a little more lenient on these white slave owners who were too cruel to their slaves and be like, nah, that's acceptable, I suppose, even when it wasn't?
I think the entire thing is just incredibly disingenuous. Like,
well, yeah.
Just from the get-go.
So
it's all verbal, just... I almost said verbal diarrhea, but no, it's actually verbal sleight of hand.
So speaking of the anus being the gate to the prostate, David Kruder says, "Black hole sun, won't you come and wash away the rain?"
You're leaking a bit there, guy.
Fun fact that probably everybody already knows, but it's still a fun fact. Certain sweetening agents are made with the anal secretions of a beaver.
Yes, like raspberry and vanilla.
Mm-hmm. It's not very common anymore because now making the synthetic stuff is actually cheaper than like harvesting beaver secretions. But
yep.
That's
castoreum.
Yeah. Who was the first person to like look at a beaver and go like, I'd like to lick the juices falling out of its asshole?
Loki the Tire Trickster says, Sirius, show Vice Rhino the jump close up. I can't. Loki, I don't think you understand. There is one form of my character on Vice Rhino's stream and one form for you guys. If I do a close up, that's in OBS. Vice Rhino sees none of that.
None of it. There's a Canadian territory called none of it.
And I'm having none of it.
Crumpy old Gunt says, beaver butt.
Beaver butt.
It's like that beaver looks like a snack. Scottish
Beavers
people
make dams because when I taste them, I go, hot damn.
Scottish people fuck sheep. Canadian people fuck beavers. And that's how we found out that beaver anal secretions can taste like strawberry or whatever.
Are you saying that your people 69 to the beavers?
I'm not saying that.
Guys, please donate to Vice Rhino's charity. Get me off of me. No, don't get me off. No.
Hurry up and donate before an animal gets molested.
From many forms of harm or of abuse. Now, by contrast to that, slavery in the American colonies and in the Old South involved people being forcibly kidnapped. People were considered property along with their offspring.
They were also bought.
What verses did we read about like people being property along with their offspring and getting passed on to other people's children forever as property? It literally said property.
When you read the Bible, it just shows that they're fucking wrong.
So Titan Uranus, I assume this is with reference to 69ing a beaver, is well, they are polite.
Woodchucks.
How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
I'm not gonna answer it. I'm just gonna walk away.
What does it mean to chuck wood? Because chuck normally means to throw. So
it means Chuck Tingle. I'm going away now.
Why are you tying Chuck Tingle into, like, now the woodchucks are going to get pounded in the butt by Cirrus chucking wood. We've lost Cirrus. Pounded in the butt by my book, pounded in the butt by my book, pounded in the butt by a woodchuck chucking wood in my butt.
No! Stop!
Back to the slavery.
That doesn't make it better.
Would you rather discuss slavery or bestiality? Chuck Tingle style bestiality.
They had no rights whatsoever.
No, that's not true. That's objectively not true.
You just said that they did have rights.
No, he's saying the American slaves. I paused in the middle. The American slaves have no rights whatsoever, except they do.
Louisiana.
And the rights that they had were based on the Bible. Like the things that you're saying were okay because it gave the slaves rights. Those are the rights that the slaves had in Louisiana. How much dump could a dumbstruck truck if a dump truck could truck dump? I assume that dumbstruck is supposed to also be dump truck.
I'm so glad that happened in your chat and not mine, because mine's going to start going off about Lord Dumping now. I'm done.
I'm tired. They are now anyway.
And yeah.
Jessa says they had 3/5 the rights. No, that wasn't until after they were free, wasn't it?
Yeah, the 3/5 compromise was after they were already free, and that was actually no. The 3/5 compromise, that was not after they were free. That didn't have to do with their rights. That had to do with how much they counted for voting, because there were plantation owners who wanted their slaves to count, to swell their votes to keep their slaves.
Yes. Joey Hoke donated $39 to the charity to bring it up to an even $11,300 and said to save the sheep from butt trauma. And Blade Runner, go donate some money to charity and make that the comment, and I will try to read that. I ain't doing that one for free.
Not everything he does with his mouth has a price, though.
But I mean, there's also a price for everything.
Sometimes you're just spending time and you'll never get it back.
Everybody has their price.
They were subject to all kinds of rampant violence and abuse.
Like somebody ransacking your city, killing all the men and stealing all the women and children?
Or like somebody desperately trying to avoid your
American slavery was actually a lot more civil than that. So as long as we're comparing the slaveries. Oh, you're in Germany after super chat. Okay, if you do the super chat, I'll try it, and yes, I'll still send the super chats to the charity. I'll try and remember to do that before next week's stream, so that you guys can actually see on stream that I actually do the thing that I said I was going to do. I'm not just taking your money and running.
But in the Old Testament system, it says very clearly that to kidnap or to sell somebody is a capital offense. There was
and
sell,
that is,
but not to buy.
But that's also noticeably separate from the slavery laws. Like, it's in the same chapter. Oh no, that's Ezekiel 21. I want Exodus 21. Yeah, so there's the laws about slaves up here, selling your daughter as a slave. And then this is no longer about slaves. It's just like beating up random people. Whoever strikes his father or mother shall be put to death. So this is definitely no longer in the slavery section. Because, unless you're saying that your parents are your slaves, which there are kids...
For about 18 years, they can be.
Yeah, I can definitely see that to a certain degree. And then we get whoever steals a man and sells him, anyone found in possession of him shall be put to death. So this is no longer in the slavery section, although it does get back into slavery later on. Verse 20 is about how much you're allowed to beat your slave. But yeah, and again, because of now this is where the cultural context thing comes in. Christians often like, and I've discovered this as I've started doing shorts where I'm talking about the fucked up Bible passages. I'm getting so many people being like, "Oh, but you're taking it out of context. You're taking it out of context," and it's like, yeah, I am for my 60-second video, but the context doesn't make it better. Like in this case,
the context makes it worse.
yeah, so in this case, if we look at the context, we can see that the book of Exodus is very much like these laws are very much applying to Hebrews and Hebrews only. If you look at Deuteronomy, they've got similar proclamations, but like Exodus is for Hebrew men. Deuteronomy is a bit more even-handed with the women, so like the women have more rights in Deuteronomy than they do in Exodus. And then when they talk about people from outside of, like, it's a completely different set of rules for people that are not Hebrews. And so, like, so if you look at the whole big context, then we get a picture of slavery in the Bible that is very much, yeah, sure, they had this quote-unquote gentle slavery that people like to talk about with like how they treated the Hebrews, and depending on where we're going, it could even be gentle for like all the Hebrews, not just the Hebrew men like we see in Exodus. But like this is just, but when you go to the other places, like obviously this did not apply to the non-Hebrews, or in Exodus, the children born to slaves, or the wives that were given to slaves by the slave's master. So yeah, the more context you get, the worse it gets, and the more obviously bad slavery this is.
I wonder if he's going to say anything in this video that we haven't heard a billion times.
No, absolutely not.
Well,
Fisher's Fritz. Fisher's Fritz fished frisch. Oh, this is in German, isn't it? Okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation. I thought there were like last names on the verb fishing or something. So Fisher's Fritz fished frisch fish frisch fish fished Fisher's Fritz. I'm sorry for butchering your language.
I'm not.
But I do enjoy that video that goes through like languages, like different languages, words for things like butterfly, papillon. Like goes through like Italian and Spanish and everything's so pretty, and then the German guy comes up and I forget what the German word for butterfly is. Let me just
Googles it real quick
in German. Schmetterling. Like if it was like butterfly, papillon. I don't know. I know English and French. I don't know the other ones. And then German's just Schmetterling.
This explains why Yara is always so angry. The artist who does my thumbnails is German, so I throw this stuff at her and like...
Oh, we got $6.66 from David Katz, who says, I want to know your hottest take on any apologist of your choice. Be as offensive as you want. Just be like, hot take, Matt Powell is a piece of shit? I think, did you hear my opening for Matt Powell on Friday?
No.
Or was it Monday? I said that he is the living incarnation of a teenage boy's special crusty sock. So
that is some of the most accurate descriptions I've ever heard for the abusive cupcake.
Yeah, it fits. Like I thought of that, and then immediately it was like, yeah, that actually, like looking at his face, that's yeah.
No, Viced. It fit at one point, but it can't stretch anymore.
Now it breaks if you drop it.
Yep. You shatter the sock like glass.
Oh, yeah. So I don't know if that counts as a hot take. Or like maybe for this audience, the hot take would be like, yes, I actually agree with Cam and Bertuzzi.
Yeah, hot take. Mike Winger hides behind happy, flowery language to pretend he's not a bigot.
Yeah. David Kruder is asking for clarification on abusive cupcake. So I don't know how he got the nickname Cupcake. I don't remember that, but there was another atheist channel a while ago that nicknamed him Cupcake just to like get under his skin because of the Also, just to correct, no, I don't speak French, but I did take like 10 years of French in school, so I know a fair amount. I know enough that I could probably get by in a French-speaking town, but it would not be good.
Fair.
Yeah. So, but also he's abusive, and like there's a recording on Ocean Keltoy's channel that I don't know how we got a hold of that recording, but it's him and one of his church members, and he is very much emotionally manipulative and abusive toward that guy, and like his true colors come out, and he is a piece of shit.
Yup.
Like,
It's
like there are apologists that I've occasionally, like, I've said stuff in videos, and then I find out later that they watched that video, and then I like rethink and be like, did I say something that's going to hurt their feelings? Am I going to make them feel bad for something that's just like superficial and doesn't actually matter? Like, and sometimes I think about that. It's not really a huge consideration, but like sometimes it's like, I'm not here to hurt people's feelings. But then I get to Matt Powell, and it's like, if he watched one of my videos and he ended up feeling bad afterwards, good. Fucking good. He deserves to feel bad. He's a bad person and should feel bad.
Yeah, like there's a handful of apologists I'm friends with. And then there's the Hovinds.
Yeah.
And the Powell. And fucking the entirety of the NIFB. I stopped caring after those lines.
Well, I mean, I kind of wish I had the relationship with Eric Hovind that Paul does, because I feel like that would just be extra funny. He did like a tweet of mine once where I recommended porn to him.
That's not surprising.
Well, he had no idea. He just commented on something about like how he missed Redbox. And so I replied to that with like, oh, well, maybe you should try RedTube. It's like the same thing, but it's on the internet. And he liked the tweet. So I got a screenshot of Eric Hovind liked me recommending a porn site to him. Don't know where the screenshot went. It's buried in my archive somewhere, but
I've got a handful of those, just Twitter screenshots that I remember why I grabbed them at one point, but they're somewhere buried deep. I wish I had actually gone and like visited Eric Hovind, because I grew up in Pensacola, so like the last time I was there, I remember like Paul, we were all on a Zoom call. This is like 3 or 4 years ago, and Paul's just like, oh, since you're there, make sure to say hi to Eric Hovind for me. I'm like, I don't have that kind of relationship with the guy, but I guess I could.
I mean, yeah, my closest proximity I've come is I have a selfie with Bodhi Hodge.
Oh yeah, I saw the one at your restaurant.
Yeah.
Like, he had no idea why I was so excited.
No, I mean, like, they were there for the Answers in Genesis conference. I assume that he just thought like I was someone that like was also a creationist, and so it was like, oh well, yeah, I know this is kind of inappropriate at work, but can you selfie with me? And that's why the picture's blurry and awful, because it's like, I am at work. I'm not even supposed to have my cell phone in my pocket, so like, let's just make it quick.
It's just one of those things where you're just like, yeah, I made a career making fun of you. You might not know that, but it's fine.
It's like, I made my career off of making fun of the claims that you make for your career. I have a book where I've made fun of you in this book for the fact that you defend the Nazis. No, he doesn't defend the Nazis. He defends people that would. He says that the moral position in the whole, like, would you lie to save a Jew from a Nazi? The moral position is to, no, I would not lie to save a Jew from a Nazi. I would tell the truth, because clearly God has a bigger plan for that thing.
I have some choice disagreements with what you just said. That is defending a Nazi.
Okay. Yeah.
That is in my book, that is 100% defending that regime, to be like, yes, the morally standing up thing would be to tell them where the Jews were. Like, no, that is 110% just support in my book.
Oh, I see Jassa is in the chat. Jassa, are you... I feel like you're one of my patrons here. Let me just check on the screen that you guys can't see. Because I just mailed out patron benefits. So if you're a patron and you're waiting for like the sticker or the 3D printed thing that I'm supposed to send out, I just mailed them today, and that's like for like the last 6 to 8 months, something like that. So I'm not exactly up to date with these things, but let's see. I want to say no, that's the wrong thing. No, that's not JASA. No, not JASA. Sorry, JASA. I just there were like two patrons with similar-ish names. Anyway, back to slavery.
There was a death penalty if you killed a servant.
Slave. The word there is slave. And yeah, not a patron. I has no money. Just a big fan of you and Cirrus. Yeah, well, thank you for being a fan. Appreciate that. And that's actually one of my policies, is that I don't want people giving me money if they are struggling financially. So, like, if it's a choice between paying Vice Rhino and paying your bills, pay your bills. I'll be fine. I'll live. You take care of yourself first. Unlike this guy. This guy looks terrified. His unpaid bills are like looming right off screen.
He's got somebody just gripping his balls right under right beneath the camera, and every time he says something even slightly off script,
they squeeze
the grip
a little
just gets
harder.
a little tighter.
It's the vice. It's the viced Rhino. He's got the viced Rhino on the balls, tightening slowly as he.
And if you caused permanent damage to that servant, then they were given their immediate freedom.
So the permanent damage he's talking about was very specific.
It was like if you knock their eye
out
out.
teeth or knock out an eye.
Here's the thing, though, that shows that slaves were not considered of equal value, because if you knocked the tooth or an eye out of a free person, then your tooth or eye gets knocked out. Whereas a slave is like, no, it's just like, okay, now you can't own them.
Yup.
But if you pay the church money, God will bless you with more, so why not the same with VR? Because that's not how the world works. And I'm not a scuzzy scumbag like those televangelists and the prosperity gospel preachers.
But if you're not prosperous, how can you be a blessing on to others?
If you send me $50, I will send you water from this water bottle that I've drunk out of.
Hey guys, that's one step away from Vice Rhino bathwater.
It'll heal you or some shit, maybe. These claims have
heal
not been
your
evaluated.
dehydration.
These claims have not been evaluated by the FDA. I actually
Canadian, that doesn't matter.
So there was one video I made where I talked about, like, there was a journal that published a study about like how if you think positively at chocolate, then that chocolate will make other people feel better. And yeah, I don't know, but I remember I was putting a joke in there. I was like, oh, if you send me money, I will like think positive thoughts at some chocolate and then send you that chocolate bar. And I actually remember thinking, like, oh, somebody's going to do that just for shits and giggles, and then I'm going to have to mail a chocolate bar. So I ended up making it something ridiculous, like $200, just so that nobody would actually do it.
Somebody would do that, though, still.
Pea bottle or nothing. I mean, if you're into that, just, like, send me some money on PayPal. Make sure there's a note. Make sure there's enough to cover shipping.
The Vice Rhino's Hornley fans.
I feel like that might get caught up in customs.
What is this? Oh, it's exotic lemonade. Ah, real warm for lemonade.
Oh God!
Amazing that it kept its warmth over. How long did this travel?
Water from his water bottle in an authentic Canadian Health Services fee cup. Okay, back to slavery. This is getting weird again.
Another difference is that an American form of slavery.
He sounds like a kid. Like kid telling a story that keeps getting bigger and bigger. Like, and another difference, and another difference is
I know, this sounds like a kid who's delivering his very first verbal report in school.
No, he's doing too good for that. I mean, like, he's not doing good at all, but like, I've seen those reports.
there's the bar, and then he cleared it.
Ooh, joke's on you. The person that wants my pee is in Ontario as well.
I'm just.
I don't even know what to say now.
I don't either. I don't. This all got a lot more awkward, and there are. My only request is that the thirsty porn artists in my chat don't.
Do it.
Just
do
don't.
it. Do it. Just
don't. We don't need. Okay, look. If you're going to do it,
yes, we need it.
At least make
we
it
need
funny.
This. We need this. It
at
has
least
to.
Make it funny. It needs to be.
It doesn't matter. It's going to be funny no matter what.
It needs to be Vice Rhino rocketing himself through the air.
Yes.
Through the sheer force of his pee alone.
Oh God.
And it needs to be to the entirety of Eggman's announcement from Snapcube. I'm gonna piss on the moon.
You know, I'm really glad that charities don't actually watch these streams.
I think it's funnier when they do.
So they'd be like, thanks, but I think we'd actually be better off without money from you.
I'm gonna aim higher.
That one
I'm
stuff.
Not pissing on the earth.
That one stuff says I'll be your slave for a pee bottle, so I can buy a human being with the price of one bottle of pee. Got some kinky motherfuckers in my chat.
Shady Shion says, hypothetically, where would I send such art?
Vice.rhino@gmail.com.
Yeah, that's where that would go. Keep that far away from me.
Oh no, another VR strip video. Say, yeah, if you're not aware, I did if you're on TikTok, you may have seen that thing where that's like that guy rapping about being stylish like Billie Eilish. And like the thing is, you roll across the bed while taking a sweater off, and then you like flip the sweater in front of the camera, and when it comes back out, you're in like lingerie or something. There's no way that I was going to make it across the bed and take the sweater off gracefully, so I just like leaned into it and like fell off the bed awkwardly, and then popped back into frame wearing women's lingerie.
Jesus.
And it was fun.
And
that debuted on John's live stream because I was gonna like. I wasn't going to put it up by itself until after, because I used it in a video for like just a joke. And then I was going to put it up by itself afterwards, just whatever. So people can be like, hey, look at this crazy guy. But then I found out that John was streaming when I showed it to all of you guys. And I was like, oh, get John to like watch do like a live blind react to this on his stream. And it was amazing.
Ivana Dragmeyer in my chat said, imagine if Cyrus's sponsor watched this stream. Ivana, you know the type of people who sponsor me. I think I'm perfectly safe. They literally dropped every other YouTuber besides me.
Is that
I think I'm okay.
Is that Artesian Builds?
No, they're dead.
I know.
No,
Azafee says, I don't like Cyrus, but Dr. Eric Hovind is amazing. I assume that's a joke.
Or if it's true, I'm looking for a fight. Why not? Ivana, I'm not talking about Every Plate, though. I mean, they are sponsoring me for a month. No, the DDLG Playground, the people who've sponsored me for like 3 years now.
Yeah.
And then dropped everyone else.
So I'm like 90% certain that all of my sponsors just watch the sponsor spot and they don't care about the rest of the video.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll put that to the test one day and like make fun of them in the middle of the video.
Oh, I straight up, I did a thing when Raid Shadow Legends sponsored me. The absolute minute that my sponsorship was over, I uploaded a video onto my video game channel that was just outing the entire game as an awful Skinner box directly after taking their money.
Nice. Yeah, actually, with reference to that, so established titles apparently everybody thinks is a scam. I don't think it actually is. It's like
I
I
have
did.
I have a friend who's been sponsored by them. It's pretty legit.
Yeah, but no, but their thing is like, oh well, they, the land that they own in Scotland, they don't plant the tree on that land. They just like sponsor a tree planting through some other organization somewhere else. And it's like, yeah, but they're upfront about that, so it's not really a scam. They do actually have the land, and like they do actually sell the plots. And I'm on the edge here because like a good chunk of my audience is like, no, that's absolutely a scam. You should vet your things more thoroughly than that. And it's like, yeah, you're not buying an actual lordship that can get you in the House of Lords in the UK Parliament. But like, I wouldn't think that I would think that'd be pretty obvious that you can't do that for $50 just by owning some land in Scotland. Like it's a novelty gift based on a tradition. So like, but they've offered to sponsor me for like another 13 months, and they've flat out told me just reuse the exact same ad but change the call to action at the end. I'm like, that is such easy fucking money.
I mean, honestly, at that point, you've done your research. You know where you sit on them, and realistically,
Yeah, but I also like my audience trusts me, and if there's a good chunk of them that are saying it's a scam, like my audience has been like, they call me out sometimes when I'm wrong. Maybe I am wrong. Maybe it is a scam and I am actually wrong. I don't think so.
my so I haven't been reached out by them specifically, but I do work with other YouTubers who have. For instance, like my friend Gilly the Kid, he got a sponsorship opportunity from them as well, and in his research, everything came back pretty a-okay. Like obviously, yeah, the planting the tree in the exact plot isn't a thing they do, but at the same time, you don't want to plant trees 1 square foot apart from each
Yeah,
other.
no, that's
just common sense.
yeah. I don't know. I'm on the fence about that. I might like do a poll or something. Now they were a little bit sketchy because they're like, I had 3 sponsors this month, and they were the only ones that were like, oh no, we don't need a contract, it's fine.
Mm.
And they didn't tell me anything. Like, it wasn't until I sent them an invoice that they were like, oh no, actually this is how you get paid. I'm like, yeah, you're supposed to say that before.
Yeah, that's
So that was a little red flaggy, but it was still like, it was a marketing agency. It wasn't established titles. So like, the agencies can be a little bit weird all the time.
the third parties always have strange rules about them.
I hate the way they don't. They're like, there's one agency that does everything in one email thread. So
Yep.
it's like my I think it's Blinkist sponsorship stuff is in a thread that is titled with some other company's thing. So like, I have to go looking for them and remember which other company that didn't end up sponsoring me is the one that the Blinkist one is in. So I can get I don't know. It's anyway. Yeah, people are chatting about stuff that has nothing to do with what we're talking about in my chat. So I think we're boring the chat.
Probably.
Yeah, Raymond Banks, though, says it's a 1 foot plot. What kind of tree are they going to plant?
Pine.
Yeah, and
It's like the only thing you can plant at that point, but it's still not a good idea.
no, Cirrus. The Bible is 100% accurate, so mustard. Because it grows into the biggest tree.
No. We need to plant fig trees because those piss Jesus off.
Yeah, Jassa says they just say they plant a tree and give you a 1 square foot plot, not in the same place. Yeah, and they are very clear about that. Like, and I made sure to say in my ad that the tree planting is a global effort, not a Scotland effort.
Yup.
All right.
Avery,
Anyways,
it was
back to slavery.
Yeah.
motivated by an economic advantage for the elite.
You think it wasn't motivated by an economic advantage for the elite in the ancient Hebrew culture?
I mean, literally, they were people who
Like,
were
yeah,
going
it was-
around and dominating other cultures by the sword. That would make them the elite.
Cyrus, you've missed it. Even in his stupid fucking apologetic, where slavery is indentured servitude, it's still these wealthy people that can afford to pay off these poor people's debts in exchange for getting free labor out of them for 6 years. It's the wealthy elite taking economic advantage of the less fortunate people.
Yeah, so it's just the same thing.
Yeah, it's the exact same thing. Anonymous gave $30 in honor of Mrs. Rhino. Thank you, Anonymous.
You oppressed and exploited this labor to gain economic advantage for yourself.
You think they weren't doing, the people that were paying off the poor people's debts were doing it because it didn't advantage them?
Man, he's like one step shy of an anti-capitalist with this particular statement. He's getting close.
That's why he looks so terrified. Like, oh no, how do I dance between this and anti-capitalism?
But in the Old Testament system, this form of slavery was motivated by a desire to find a way to help the poor, to find a way to help them out of...
Wait,
Just-
what?
It was trickle-down economics.
It was to help the people. That's what it was the whole time.
Yeah, no, having free labor for 6 years definitely didn't give advantage to the rich people that were exploiting the labor at all. No, that...
Why?
of their destitution. Now, let's take a look at slavery in the New Testament. In the Roman world, slaves
No, that's not the Roman world, the New Testament, where he says slaves obey your master. I don't care what the Roman world did with slavery.
constituted at least a third and maybe more of the whole total population.
One of the videos I covered said it was like 90% of the population was slaves.
What?
Yeah. It's like, how does that even work mathematically? I didn't, it for some reason I missed it when I made the video, but like people started commenting on it and it's just like, yeah, how did I miss that? Because that's like, that just mathematically would not work.
That also, just in general, that only works if you're using a really loose definition of slave, like wage slave. Again, back to the anti-capitalist thing. Like that only works when you're using more loose language.
Yeah. How much you want to bet he's going to get into the fact that like they had slave doctors and stuff that actually like were treated well and stuff eventually, but still the majority of them were.
Thank you for the follow.
You sound so excited for that.
I loosened myself up for it. That's all.
Did they like send you pee art or something?
No. Thank God.
I don't know what's going on over there.
And so this was such a common thing, the New Testament had to address it in one form or another, which...
Okay, this is something I've never understood. They always talk about like the Ten Commandments, or these like God writes his morals on our hearts, and like it was revolutionary that the Ten Commandments told people to do, like it had these laws that were super amazing that nobody could have possibly thought of on their own, like don't kill people. But then they try to make it sound like this big thing, like God is giving you this revolutionary law code that is better than anything ever before. But then as part of this revolutionary law code saying, oh, also don't own people, is just a step too far, because the culture's ready for don't kill, but they're not ready for don't own people.
Yep.
Like,
don't cheat on your wife was super important, except for all the different ways the Bible was okay with you being a polygamist. But yeah, no, slavery not important.
Okay, if we're going with the Old Testament, you're allowed to cheat on your wife. She's not allowed to cheat on you. Now, there are certain circumstances where it's more acceptable than others. Like, you're allowed to use a prostitute, but a concubine is a better option, which is just like a permanent prostitute that you have exclusive access to. So
better not that than in the belly of a whore.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Something like that. Anyway, it's 10 o'clock. We made it almost halfway through this video.
We're very good at our jobs. We do this professionally, full time, everybody.
We do, but this is, so you want to know why my videos end up being 40 minutes long when the video I'm responding to is 3 minutes long? This is why.
This is exactly why. I somehow managed a few 15-minute videos when normally it's the same problem for me, and doubly so because it's live stream. So, like, if I start streaming of Consciousing, it's just there forever.
Yeah, so my video that's coming out this Friday. Yes, Friday is when I put my videos out.
Did you forget when you put your videos out?
Maybe. It is 44 minutes and 2 seconds long. It's the longest video I've put out in a while. Although I do have a couple that are like borderline 50-minute videos if you go back far enough.
I have one that hits the 1 hour mark, and I try not to do that. But this one was a live stream collab, so it was my thoughts, my friend Renita's thoughts, and then the video we were responding to, all just combined together, leading into a giant clusterfuck.
Well, generally when it gets to 38 minutes, that's when I start thinking, this is too long. Maybe I should split this into two, like make it a two-parter video. But the algorithm hates two-part videos.
The algorithm used to love two-part videos.
Yeah, it used to. As you remember back when I used to like split all my videos in two parts. It'd be like 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there, and I did like that little Batman transition at the end. That worked. That worked for my algorithm thing for a while, but started torpedoing it. It's like, okay, well, YouTube doesn't want me to do that anymore. I won't do that anymore.
YouTube wants single long-form content
and shorts.
Oh, that does remind me.
We are slaves to the algorithm.
You know what's a fun thing you can do with your content now that the algorithm really loves?
What's that?
Any of your content that you can take that can be grouped into a single category that you have in a playlist, just take all those videos and smash them into one long video. Toss it up.
Oh, like Ryan George has been doing with his series, like the pitch meeting series.
Yeah, like any of your stuff that fits into a series, you can just put it as a giant long form video, and the algorithm loves it. And I don't know. It's not a thing that I like, but at the same time, I'm like, if it's a matter of eating or not, why work twice?
Okay. Well, I have to go because there's stuff that I need to do tonight still, so I actually kind of need to end it on time. We can't go long. So
fair enough.
Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for the donations, those of you who donated. And that includes those who donated in the past, because like I don't have a fresh new audience every week. So you guys are probably feeling tapped out. But yeah, I still would love to get to 15,000. But this is still amazing. So
and anybody who's over on my end, if you haven't hit the collab command and headed over to Vice Rhino's channel, please consider doing so. And by please consider, I mean fucking do it right now.
Do it.
Do it. Do it now.
Do it. You should do it right now. The Disney Corporation commands you.
If you do it now, then Cirrus will let you hear what it sounds like when he swallows. Bye, everybody.